All right, Cashflow is back in the Fraser Valley. That's right. It's still hard to find, but it's coming back. So in today's video, I've picked out a couple listings off the MLS. I want to go through, show you the numbers on them, show you what's currently possible in the current circumstances in the real estate market. Now, before I get into these and run through the numbers and kind of my ideology behind this, Cashflow pretty much never exists in our market. Typically, when you buy a property, the first 3 years are not going to be cash flow. After you get a new tenant in the next couple of years, or you're able to raise the rents or whatever the case may be, the tenant turns over. The 3 years after you first buy that property are the years where you start to become cash flow positive. So as an example of this, when I first bought my condo in Abbotsford, it would rent for about $1,050. 6 years later, it would rent for about $2,050 a month. So I was about cash flow negative $400 a month when I bought it. 6 years later, I would have been positive about, I think it was like $300 or $400 a month. So don't expect magic from these numbers. It takes a while to get into a cash flow positive position in our market. But here are the numbers today. They were a lot worse last year. They're starting to look somewhat decent. So I found a one bed in Abbotsford. I'm not actually allowed to show you guys the listing because then I'd be marketing the listing and it's not my listing. So this one is built in 2007. It's a 610 square foot unit. Nice floor plan. The location's meh, but if you wanted to buy it purely from a cash flow perspective, and by the way, this is the asking price, right? You can always write an offer lower than this if you wanted to. So, you'd be buying this for, let's just say you bought it for the asking price, $339,000. I put rent $1,600, but one of my clients just recently rented a one bedroom that's actually smaller than this. It's newer, but it's smaller, down the street for $1,900 a month, like 4 or 5 months ago. So the rent could very well be $1,650, $1,700, $1,750. I'm going to be super conservative and say $1,600. And even at $1,600, you're getting your mortgage, 30-year AM. I put a 4.5% fixed rate for this. Stratus $278, property tax $112. Insurance, I'm going to guess, is likely around $90 a month. You'd be $270 a month negative on this today. Now, you could always put down an extra 20 grand and probably make this neutral. Maybe you get $1,750 a month rent and then you're only negative $100 a month. Maybe you get $1,800 a month rent and then you're only negative like $50 a month. But these are the numbers right now on an Abbotsford one bed that is built in 2007. If you wanted to buy something that's a 1980s build, 1990s build, 1970s build, which I would recommend sometimes depending on the building and the location, you would probably be in a net cash positive position. Now, on to Chilliwack detached, right? So this one that I found, 1965 build, this is a 10,000 square foot lot, 5 bed, 2 bath. So you're 3 bed up, 2 bed down, 1 bath on each floor, 2,500 square foot home. Asking price is $849. I'm going to say this will rent for $3,800 on the low side, possibly all the way up to $4,300, depending on what rents you're getting for the upstairs and the downstairs. Your mortgage today is about $3,444. Property tax $316. Insurance, I'm going to guess, is around $175. So on this property, you're going to be positive $360 a month to negative $135, depending on what rent you get. Now, keep in mind that this is, again, these are fixed cost, right? So on a detached home, you're going to have a lot more maintenance. So this won't truly be, positive $365. You might need to change the dishwasher, unplug a toilet here and there. But the fixed costs on this property, there's a very high likelihood you're actually going to be positive on this. And this is at the asking price for this property, right? So positive cash flow is finally possible again in the Fraser Valley. It's out there. You can find it, right? And on the last one, now, I know right now a hot topic is just shit on pre-sales. Everybody hates pre-sales. You see all the realtors on YouTube putting out videos about pre-sales and how much they suck. People have made a lot of money buying pre-sales over the last 15 years. And it's only in the last 2 years that people are getting wrecked. And had they went and got the firm approval from RBC, TD, CIBC, or one of these lenders after they bought it, yes, they would be down on their purchase. Yes, they're renting it cash flow negative right now, but they still would have closed. The pain wouldn't have been as great as what it is. And I think pre-sales make sense for a lot of people depending on their personal financial situation. So for that reason, I'm including this in this cash flow analysis, right? So we have a Langley pre-sale. This one is a one bed in Salana, 2027 completion, estimated 550 square feet. I think this is the perfect size for a one bedroom. Comes with AC and parking and storage. right? And I think I've shown you guys this floor plan before on my channel. I really like this floor plan. This is what you'd be looking at. Lots of counter space. I like how you can walk through the bathroom from the living space or the master bedroom. It's a nice, perfect square layout. It's nice and open. TV placement makes sense, etc., etc. So just looking at the numbers, if everything stayed the same over the next 3 years, if you were to complete on this, you'd pay roughly $480,000, depending on what they have left there right now. It might be $485, it might be $490, but you'd be paying roughly $480 plus GST for a total price of $504,000. These rent for, I've seen as high as $2,300. I haven't seen lower than 2,000. So I'm going to say, safely around 2,000, but I put 2,100 in here just because. Mortgage 2042. Again, this is 30-year AM, 4.5% fixed rate. Estimated strata fee in 2027 is 41 cents a square foot, which is 225 and 50 cents. Property tax is 225-ish. Insurance 110-ish. Today, if everything stayed the same, you'd be negative on this $500 a month, which sucks. However, because it's a pre-sale completing 3 years from now, I did a bullish, or maybe not bullish, but a base case projection using very conservative growth numbers. And then I use an ultra bullish case projection down here, just so you can see what kind of would be possible over the next 3 years. So I used an annual growth rate of 3% to arrive at $524,000, which means you would be up about $20,000 in 2027. The rent, I used 3.7% year over year growth, which is extremely low for rent. Mortgage, I put your interest rate at 3.8. I think rates are probably going to be at 3.8 by mid this year if you're taking a variable. So I think that again is pretty conservative. Your strata is 225.50. Property tax 250. I actually increased it a little bit from 225. Insurance I also increased. And in the base case, you'd still be negative about $127 a month. Now, if we look at the ultra bullish projection for a pre-sale condo, right? And I'm not saying this is going to happen at all. This would not be what I'm expecting to happen if I buy a pre-sale, just to be very clear with you, all right? 7% year over year growth. Typically and historically, we get about 7 to 9% per year growth in and around Vancouver's metro area. I actually think it's been slightly higher in the Fraser Valley over the last 10, 20 years. I put the interest rate down at 3.2%. That means you're getting about almost $2,600 a month in rent in 2027. Your mortgage would be cheaper, $1,700. Strata would be the same because, again, they're already estimating it to be this amount in 2027. Property, they've already done all the work for me here to estimate that strata fee. Property tax, did I make it higher? Oh no, I made it the same. $250, insurance $130. And in this scenario, you'd be up $84,000 and this unit would be cash flow positive by 2027. Now, a lot of people would say this is ridiculous, call me an idiot. Obviously, this is a very low probability this will happen. However, this has happened for many pre-sale buyers in the past, so I wouldn't rule it out. Now, the negative scenario, right? Let's just say you buy a pre-sale, there's a negative scenario. I didn't write it down here, but let's just say you buy this, right? For $480. The negative scenario is this thing is worth like $440,000 when you go to complete on it. The rent drops to like $1,800. Let's just say we got a second round of inflation and now interest rates are like 5.5%. In this scenario, that would suck. I wouldn't say you'd be screwed because again, you just go get the firm approval from RBC and you'd probably lock in an interest rate of about 5.5% today anyways. And then the unit would appraise because, that's what these lenders do with pre-sale purchases. They will hold your approval for up to, I believe it's 48 months. So you do still have a safety net there, but obviously you'd be losing money. And when you complete on this thing, this cash flow position would be even more negative. You'd be like negative like $800 a month, which would really suck. So there's definitely a big downside to buying pre-sale condos, but at the same time, there's also a big upside, right? And if you're somebody who wants to invest in real estate, or you're living at home with your parents, or maybe you're like, you want to gift real estate to your kids, but you don't want to put down a full 20% and deal with tenants at the moment, pre-sales can be a good option for a lot of people. And that's basically why I've included this. And I like this floor plan. I like this project. I like the developer. But even if you didn't want to go that route and you're somebody who hates pre-sales, you've been burned on them before, too many people have been burned. I mean, this detached home in Chilliwack is looking very attractive right now at $849, 10,000 square foot lot, meaning you're probably going to have multiple exits in the future. you might want to potentially subdivide this or knock it down and build a bigger house, or maybe you sell it to a developer in a land assembly or something like that. And then on the Abbotsford one bed, I mean, again, if you're stomaching negative, $150 or negative $200 a month cash flow right now, that's really not that bad. And in 3 to 5 years, the value of this is likely going to be higher, and you're likely going to be cash positive down the road. So, and that's typically how our market has always traded, right? You buy a unit, you're cash negative, but in 3 to 5 years, you're finally positive. You've got some equity. You could refinance if you wanted to. So yeah, I mean, there's definitely some opportunity out there depending on what type of investor you are. I really just wanted to break down some of the numbers that I'm seeing out there, go over it with you guys, show you what's possible, because the numbers have changed a lot over the last year. Now, if you're interested in investing in the Valley, this is what I do. Give me a ring. I'm that Agent Kelly, and I'm making moves to move you. Peace.